The manhwa opens with a young woman staring at a pregnancy test, her trembling hands barely able to hold it steady. The result is positive. A wave of dread passes through her as she wonders what she should do. Of all the mistakes she could have made, it had to be with that person, someone she barely knew, and only for a short time. In her previous life, she had lived a story of sorrow. Obedient to her parents' wishes, she was forced into a loveless marriage with a man who valued only social status and prestige. That marriage became her downfall, and her life ended in tragedy taken by the cruel hands of domestic violence. Yet fate had other plans. When she reached a certain age in this new life, she suddenly regained the memories of her past one. Now reborn as Grace Shia, the daughter of a marquis, she swears to herself that this time she will not repeat the same mistake. She will marry for love, not convenience, not power, and certainly not for her family's expectation. But when she attends a grand social gathering filled with noblemen and potential suitors, disappointment settles in quickly. There isn't a single man there who stirs her heart. Her maid, Emily, gently reminds her that it was a large party and that surely among the many attendees there must have been at least one good match. Grace admits there were many men present, but every one of them seemed the same men obsessed with family rank, lineage, and wealth. To them, marriage was a transaction, not a union of souls. That, Grace thinks, is the tragedy of noble society, where people parade their titles and possessions like trophies, and not one of them speaks with sincerity. Emily brings up a recent marriage proposal, a fine match in the eyes of everyone else, and wonders why Grace refused it. Grace's answer is simple: it did not move her heart. She does not want to be swayed by wealth or influence. She wants to judge her partner for herself and love him for who he is, not for what he owns. Emily, moved by her lady's conviction, recalls something daring: a masquerade ball where identities are hidden and people attend not as nobles but as equals, seeking pure encounters free from the constraints of class and reputation. Grace's father, strict and proud, had already discovered the invitation addressed to her and secretly opened it. He had no intention of allowing his daughter to attend such an unrefined event. But Emily, loyal and determined, retrieves the invitation for her in secret. She believes that if Grace truly wishes to find love, then this ball is her chance. At a masquerade, everyone hides behind masks. Names and titles mean nothing. For one night, hearts may speak without fear of rank or bloodline. Grace decides to go. She enters the masquerade dressed elegantly, her face half concealed by a delicate mask. Yet what she finds there is not quite the romantic dream she had imagined. Many men approach her with shameless intent, smooth words, shallow flattery, and eyes that betray their true purpose. One asks her to slip away with him, and she recoils at his audacity. Another suggests they find a private room, making no effort to hide his indecent intention. She sighs inwardly. So this is what it is: men looking only for one-night pleasures, their desires wrapped in polite words and masks of courtesy. This is not what she came for. Then, across the hall, she hears a raised voice, a man's, clear and sharp, rebuking someone. The conversation catches her attention. Someone had asked him about his family status, and the moment they did, the warmth in his tone vanished. He tells them firmly that once they began to speak of titles and lineage, any future between them ceased to exist. Curious, she looks toward him. The man stands tall and composed, and though his mask hides much of his face, his demeanor is calm yet commanding. Around him, a few ladies whisper and scoff, mocking his words. To them, a noble who disregards status must be either a fool or a liar. One of them pouts, saying that for a man of noble blood, caring about rank is only natural even if the encounter is fleeting. But to Grace, his words strike differently. Drawn by curiosity, she approaches him. He glances at her, perhaps expecting mockery, but she only smiles, her eyes bright beneath her mask. To him, she seems sincere, intrigued rather than judgmental. The man asks if she has come simply to ridicule him like the others, but she shakes her head. What she feels is not ridicule, it is relief, even joy. For so long, she has been surrounded by people consumed by vanity, those who measure worth by lineage and wealth. But here stands someone who speaks against it, someone unafraid to defy the unspoken laws of noble society. Seeing him shut down those shallow remarks had been, for her, utterly satisfying. And then, with quiet interest, he asks her when was the last time she truly felt something real. She freezes for a moment, her heart skipping a beat. That line, he said, it sounds so familiar. Then it hits her. She knows this. It's from that movie she saw in her past life. The exact same phrasing, the same tone, the same air of quiet charm. For a second, she can't help but wonder, could it be that he's actually trying to flirt with her? Her mind races as she searches for what the heroine in that film had said next. Without thinking, The words tumble from her mouth before she can stop them. Tonight, she wants to be in his arms. The moment the words leave her lips, she realizes what she's done. Heat floods her cheeks, her entire face turning crimson. Wait, what had she just said? That line, those words came from her past life. Why would she say that here? And what if he didn't even mean his comment that way? Flustered and desperate to fix her mistake, she stammers, trying to explain herself. She insists that what she meant was that she wants him to hold her, just hold her. But even as she speaks, she knows she's made it worse. Every word tangles deeper into misunderstanding. The man looks at her, silent for a moment, and then a slow smile spreads across his lips. There's amusement there, but something else too, a flicker of interest. He remarks that this is the first time someone has ever made such a bold move on him. Then, before she can react, he steps closer, his hand gently pulling her toward him. He tells her softly that if it will make her happy, then so be it. Her pulse quickens as he leans in, closing the distance between them. Morning comes quietly, light spilling through the lace curtains. She lies beside him, the memories of the night before hazy but tender. A thought crosses her mind, half embarrassed, half amused. Wouldn't it be uncomfortable to sleep with the mask still on? Gently, she reaches out and removes it. The sight before her steals her breath. Beneath the mask is a man with strikingly handsome features, elegant yet strong, his sleeping face serene. But as she studies him, something gnaws at the edge of her memory. His face. It feels familiar. Too familiar. Her gaze drifts to his neck and there she sees it. The Ward family crest. Her heart stops. No, it can't be. But the symbol is unmistakable. In her homeland, the Shelgrave family, her own, has long held a bitter and deep-rooted rivalry with the Wards. That enmity stretches back generations, filled with political strife, betrayal, and resentment. Her mind flashes back 10 years to that grand national celebration where nobles from across the empire had gathered. She had been just a young girl then, quietly watching the adults converse. Among them had been a boy, not much older than her, speaking with surprising maturity to seasoned nobles about financial matters. Regarding that issue, please go through the family's finance officer, he had said with calm authority. Even then, he had carried himself like someone far beyond his years. But that was also the day she learned how cruel noble society could be. A woman had approached her, her words dripping with disdain. She reeked of the Shelgrave family, she had hissed, stay away from her son. It hadn't mattered that she was only a child. The hatred ran too deep, too old to be softened by innocence. And that boy Alan Ward had simply watched, unable to defy his mother. That was the day she truly understood just how far the animosity between their two houses went. Her heart sinks. In her past life, she had already endured a marriage filled with pain, cruelty, and coldness. If she were ever to marry into the Ward family, would it not be the same, perhaps even worse? A brutal, loveless union built on resentment rather than affection. No, she cannot allow that to happen. She tells herself that last night was a mistake, a fleeting moment of weakness, nothing more. It must remain a secret, a one-night encounter never to be spoken of again. She refuses to relive the same misery she once escaped. And yet, as she looks at him, a soft ache blooms in her chest. She has never felt happiness like this before, not even close. If only he weren't a Ward. If only things were different. But reality doesn't bend to wishes. She gathers her courage and decides she must leave before he wakes. Quietly, she begins to dress, trying not to make a sound. Before slipping away, she glances back at him, guilt flickering across her expression. His mask lies on the pillow beside him. She picks it up gently. She should at least put it back on, to leave things as they were. Just as she leans in to place it over his face, his eyes twitch. She wears the mask of composure, concealing the turmoil within, and leaves quietly. If her true identity is ever revealed, it would be nothing short of a disaster. She bids farewell and departs. The next morning, Emily informs her that the carriage is ready. She thanks her, noticing how the air has grown warmer. It has been almost a month since that night, and she can't help but sigh, lost in thought. Emily, ever observant, remarks that ever since the masquerade party, she has been sighing constantly, wondering if something might have happened after all. She dismisses it lightly, saying it is nothing, though inside she knows the truth. It is something she cannot stop thinking about. Alan, a nobleman from the rival house Ward, the heir of a family long opposed to her own house Shelgrave. If she had known his identity from the beginning, she would never have allowed herself to get close to him. Yet, being in his arms had made her happy in a way she had never experienced before. She cannot forget that feeling, even when she knows she must. Lately, her mother has grown increasingly worried. She notices how withdrawn her daughter has become and wonders what troubles her. Her father assumes it is simply the usual concerns of youth, perhaps she is agonizing over what dress to wear to the next party. But her mother senses it is more than that. She points out that her daughter has never been this quiet for so long. Her father finally decides to speak with her himself. When she enters the room after being called, her father greets her with a smile and tells her that he has a marriage proposal for her. The mention of marriage makes her blush, and her father chuckles, noting how lively she suddenly seems at the word. She is left speechless as he reminds her that she has had plenty of time to consider her future, and now it is time for her to settle down. Seeing her parents and even Emily looking at her with such concern, she realizes how much she has made them worry. She knows she must find a way to put her feelings in order. The man who has proposed the match arrives soon after. He praises her beauty, saying she is even lovelier than in the portraits he had seen. He explains that he has long been pursuing this marriage arrangement and expresses his delight at finally meeting her. Later that evening, she finds herself seated at a dinner table in his home. The suitor speaks proudly about his connections, boasting that their country's medical field depends on the herb production business managed by House Shelgrave. As she listens, it becomes painfully clear that what he truly seeks is not love but a profitable connection to her family. In noble society, marriages are the foundation of power and influence. Status, above all, determines a family's future. Yet, she cannot help but compare this calculated exchange to the sincerity she once felt with Alan. He had been different from all the others, genuine, unpretentious, and warm. Against her will, her thoughts drift back to him once again, despite her vow to move on. Her suitor notices her distraction and laughs, saying that all this business talk must be boring her. He insists she start eating, and she nods politely. But as she takes her first bite, a wave of nausea washes over her. The man continues to speak, assuring her that once they are married, he will become her greatest support. She forces a smile, murmuring that she will consider his words, though all she wants is to leave. Back in her room later that night, she feels increasingly unwell. It isn't a cold, she is certain of that, and it isn't the usual time of the month either. Then the realization strikes her like a bolt of lightning. Her period. When was the last time she had it? Her hands tremble as she checks, and the result confirms her worst fear. The test reads positive. Panic surges through her as the weight of the truth settles in. What is she supposed to do now? Before she can gather her thoughts, there's a gentle knock at the door. Her mother's voice comes from the other side, asking if she is feeling all right. Her mother enters the room. She remarks that she heard her daughter was bedridden just moments ago. Caught off guard, Shia quickly insists that she is fine, forcing a weak smile even as her thoughts spiral into panic. An unmarried noblewoman getting pregnant is a disaster, she thinks, her pulse racing. Her mother studies her face with quiet suspicion, her gaze soft but penetrating. She comments gently that Shia has always been terrible at hiding things, which makes Shia's heart skip a beat. Could she have found out? But her mother only places a hand on her forehead, frowning slightly before concluding that it must be a cold. She tells her to stop pretending to be fine and not to keep quiet about such matters again. Then, with a sigh and a mother's tenderness, she advises her to rest and recover soon before leaving the room. As the door closes behind her, Shia exhales heavily. Her secret feels heavier than ever. She knows she has to do something before anyone finds out. For a brief, terrifying moment, the thought crosses her mind, should she get rid of it? But she quickly shakes her head, horrified by herself. What a dreadful thought. She could never. The following day, she rides in a carriage with Emily, who looks both worried and confused. Emily remembers that Shia had mentioned needing to meet someone, but now she realizes that the area they are traveling through belongs to the Ward family. Anxiety fills her expression as she whispers a small prayer, "Please, let nothing happen." The Wards, after all, have a reputation for being harsh and unyielding. Shia stares silently out of the window, her thoughts a tangled mess, when Emily asks hesitantly if she sees someone familiar ahead. Following her gaze, Emily spots a group of men and then notices one in particular. That man's composure, the authority in his stance, could it be? Emily wonders if he is a noble, perhaps even someone from the Ward family. As the road ahead appears increasingly dangerous, Emily suggests instructing the coachman to turn back. But Shia, her resolve firm despite her trembling hands, orders the carriage to stop. Emily can only watch in alarm as Shia steps out into the open. Alan turns at the sound of the carriage stopping, confusion flickering across his face when he sees the crest, the emblem of House Shelgrave, displayed on its door. His aide immediately moves forward, tense and defensive, but Alan gestures for him to step aside. They face each other for the first time since that night. She takes a steadying breath before introducing herself properly, saying she is here to meet Alan, the son of the Marquis of Ward. His expression hardens slightly as he asks what business she has with him. She hesitates before explaining that it concerns something important, something they need to speak about privately. Alan's eyes widen in realization, but he quickly glances around, lowering his voice to say that he is working at the moment. Shia feels a pang of disbelief after everything, after coming all this way to see him, that's all he says? Still, she knows this isn't a conversation that can be held here, in the open, surrounded by prying eyes and ears. It would be better to wait for a calmer, more private moment. As the carriage waits behind her, she looks around the territory and recalls what she has heard, that the Ward family's lands thrive on weapon production, their factories fueling the Empire's strength. Everything about this place feels cold, efficient, and forbidding, just like the distance that now stretches between her and Alan. She had always believed that the Ward family and their trade were nothing more than brutish, cold-hearted merchants of weapons and conflict. But as her carriage rolled through their lands, she began to notice something unexpected. The townspeople greeted Alan's men with warmth and familiarity. There was trust in their eyes. The realization unsettled her. Perhaps the Wards were not as ruthless as she had thought. A sudden gust of wind blew through the street, catching the brim of her hat and sweeping it into the air. Before she could react, Alan moved swiftly, catching it before it could tumble further. He returned it to her, his expression unreadable. She murmured a quiet thank you, but his words that followed made her heart falter. He said he had thought she had disappeared just like that night. Her breath caught. She reminded him that she had told him she had something important to discuss. But the moment he realized who she truly was, a daughter of the rival Shelgrave family, his tone had turned sharp and cold. The warmth she remembered from before was gone. Alan, maintaining his composure, asked how much she want. When she mentioned his family name, a faint, bitter smile curved his lips. He accused her of coming here to silence him, as though her visit were an act of pride and malice befitting a Shelgrave. He went on, saying that if she wanted compensation, he would pay her, and that they should both simply pretend that night had never happened. For a moment she could only stare at him, stunned. This man is hopeless, she thought bitterly. He was making assumptions all on his own, building walls that didn't need to exist. How utterly disappointing. Her composure faltered, and she turned to Emily, instructing her that they were leaving. But before she could reach the carriage, Alan stepped forward and blocked her path. He couldn't let her go like this, not again. He turned to his aide and ordered, in a low voice, that she be taken to the annex. The man hesitated, stammering that the woman was from the Shelgrave family, clearly nervous about the consequences. Alan's eyes narrowed dangerously as he demanded to know who the man thought he was speaking to. Immediately, the aide bowed and apologized, hurrying to obey. Shia, caught off guard, wondered with growing unease whether she was truly being taken to the Ward family's mansion. The thought made her heart race. When she arrived at the annex, she was seated before a grand table laden with food far too much for a simple guest. She sat stiffly, uncertain what to do. Alan joined her, and an uncomfortable silence fell over them. He had not spoken a word since. She dared a glance in his direction, but the moment their eyes met, she quickly looked away, flustered. That was probably rude of me, she thought, fingers tightening around her cup. Alan, however, couldn't tear his gaze from her. Seeing her again filled something inside him that he hadn't realized was so empty. It felt as though his parched heart was finally being quenched. He remembered the night she vanished, the emptiness that followed. He had tried to drown himself in work, but her face haunted him. Her laughter, her voice, the warmth of her presence. He had wanted to see her again, to speak to her just once more. And now, impossibly, she had come back. Breaking the silence, he finally asked her why she had come to see him. So she lied. She said it was because of her father's business affairs. Alan watched her carefully, clearly unconvinced. He knew immediately that she was lying. The Shelgrave family would never conduct business with the Wards. Still, he let the lie hang in the air, his expression unreadable. He shifted his gaze to the teacup before her and asked softly if she disliked the tea. Then, as if sensing her hesitation, he added calmly that there was no poison in it. She thinks that it looks like he doesn't trust her either, but she can't drink it right now, even if she wanted to. She can tell just by the color and the scent. This tea, it's made from the first harvest, that distinct bright color and unique aroma. But the tea contains caffeine, and it might affect the baby. Still, she lets herself savor the scent at least. Alan explains that the Shelgrave family built their fortune on medicinal herbs, and at the same time, they are well known in the tea business. He adds that they are a family of devoted tea lovers, and he has heard that she even started her own brand. She realizes that even before they met, he knew that much about her, and a twinge of guilt pricks her heart for not drinking the tea. She decides to take a pastry instead, tasting it carefully. It is truly delicious. Her eyes sparkle in surprise, and for a brief moment, she realizes she has let her guard down. But when she lifts her gaze, she catches him staring too much. For a fleeting second, he wonders whether he should ask them to prepare a different tea for her. She reasons that it's not necessary, yet he points out that a friend once told him when a woman suddenly starts avoiding tea, there's usually a reason. Pregnancy. If a woman is expecting, some components in tea might not be good for the baby. Then he stops himself and apologizes awkwardly, insisting that it's not like she could actually be, but before he can finish, the shock of his own realization makes his voice falter. He looks at her, searching her expression, and finally asks if she truly is pregnant. Worry flickers across her face, but she gathers herself, straightens her back, and declares with full confidence that yes, it is their child. He slams the table in disbelief, taken aback by the revelation. She is sure that he must think this is troublesome. Their families are bitter enemies. She knows very well that this isn't something he can possibly be happy about. Even she understands that. So she steels her voice and tells him that, in that case, she will be the one to raise the child. After all, a child born between two warring families could never be happy. She came here today to tell him exactly that. But deep down, the truth is different. She thought maybe, just maybe, he would understand, that he might ease some of her fears. Somewhere inside, she had been hoping for that. Yet Alan's response is steady and unyielding. He says this isn't a decision she can make alone. After all, he is the father too, and he will raise the child as his heir. A bitter scoff escapes her. So that's it, she thinks. He just wanted an heir. Even that night, those happy memories, it was all just an act to secure one, wasn't it? She was completely fooled. Her hand clenches tightly, trembling with the weight of betrayal. She swears to herself that she will never give this child to him. He looks at her with calm conviction and mentions that raising a child is like addition because by combining each other's talents, it allows the child to acquire knowledge and skills that make the most of both parents. He explains that he excels in swordsmanship, while she excels in medicine, and together they can raise a strong and intelligent child. However, if one of them is missing, it won't work. Based on that belief, he concludes that raising a child is, indeed, like addition. Shia sits there, momentarily lost for words, wondering if she is really sitting through a presentation right now. The way he's speaking reminds her of her past life as an office worker, methodical, logical, and painfully professional. This man is hopeless, she thinks to herself. Yet despite her exasperation, she can't help but notice that his points are well structured and his arguments surprisingly persuasive. However, everything he says sounds purely businesslike. There is no warmth, no tenderness, only rationality. People, she thinks, won't follow a plan just because he asks them to. They have feelings, emotions, and fears. Her thoughts are interrupted when he suddenly glares at her and rises to his feet, making her wonder if she has somehow offended him. He walks over to her with an unreadable expression and declares that as the first step, they should go on a date. Her cheeks flush instantly. A date? She can't believe what she just heard. Was he even listening to what she was saying? He reasons calmly that she can either get to know him or leave him as an irresponsible man. Her eyes widen in disbelief. Did he just force a date on her so casually? He's probably really good at his job, she thinks bitterly, because the way he speaks is smooth as butter. But still, she can't let him treat her like this. She straightens her posture and declares that the conversation is over. She's leaving. She turns to walk away, but in her haste, her foot catches, and she trips. Just as she's about to fall, his hand reaches out and catches her. The touch is firm and warm, a steady strength that startles her more than the fall itself. She quickly thanks him and tries to pull away, but he doesn't let go. He simply tells her that he still hasn't heard her answer. Resigned and flustered, she finally blurts out that fine, she will go on a date with him. Later, back at home, she can hardly believe what she's done. The words keep echoing in her head. She agreed to go on a date. But how is she even supposed to prepare for one? In her past life, she had an arranged marriage right after meeting her fiancé. This is her first time ever dealing with something like this. She has no idea what to do. Emily, watching her restless pacing and worried expressions, finds the whole situation terribly amusing. To think that the young lady would be this troubled, this must be true love. Shia grows even more flustered, insisting that it's not like that at all. Now it just sounds as if she's super excited about this, which only embarrasses her more. She huffs in protest, trying to explain that she's just trying to make sure she doesn't act improperly. After all, she has never been on a date before. She doesn't even know what to wear. Standing before the mirror, surrounded by dresses, she feels utterly lost. Emily, full of excitement, urges her to go all out and dress up. After all, it's her first date. Shia hesitates, trying one dress after another. The first one feels far too much, the second too showy, and the third too flashy. None of them seem right. From a short distance, Emily watches her young lady twirl uncertainly before the mirror, and she can't help but smile. The young lady looks like she's having fun, even in her indecisiveness. There's something endearing about how flustered she is. But Emily's heart grows heavier the more she thinks about it. Her partner is from the Ward family. Such a dangerous romance. What can she possibly do to make sure the young lady finds true happiness in this situation? The next day arrives, and Shia reaches the meeting spot earlier than expected. Her heart beats faster with every passing second, nerves twisting inside her. She wishes he would get here already. The waiting is unbearable. As she absent-mindedly reaches for a flower nearby, the world shifts in an instant. A sharp movement behind her, the faint whistle of a blade slicing through the air. Someone is trying to strike her down. She dodges instinctively, heart pounding, eyes snapping toward the assailant. For a moment, fear grips her. Is this where she's going to die? The attacker lunges again, but before the blade can reach her, Alan arrives, his presence cutting through the chaos like a storm. In a swift, precise motion, he intercepts the attack, disarming the assassin with practiced ease. His expression turns cold as his eyes lock onto the man's face. He seizes the attacker by the collar, his tone sharp and low as he demands to know who he is. The moment his gaze sharpens, recognition flashes across his eyes. He never forgets a face he's seen once, even if it belongs to a servant. His voice carries a dangerous edge as he demands to know whether a servant of the Ward family has truly come here to assassinate her. Who is pulling his strings, he demands, but the man remains silent. Alan's grip tightens, his tone growing even colder as he warns that the man has no right to choose whether he dies now or later. Still, the assassin keeps his silence until at last, under pressure, he mutters that it was his mother's order. Alan's expression hardens. He drops the man to the ground, his voice low but final as he says that there will not be a second time. Then, without sparing another glance, he turns and walks away from the defeated attacker. When he looks back at Shia, she's trembling. Her lips part, but her voice won't come out properly. Somehow, she manages to whisper a soft thank you. Before she can say anything else, Alan steps forward and pulls her into his arms. The embrace is firm, grounding. He asks if she's hurt, his voice rough with concern. She shakes her head, trying to steady her breath. He apologizes for being late, but she shakes her head again, murmuring that it's not his fault, she just arrived too early. His arms feel so warm around her, and for a brief moment, she feels safe, almost too safe. Yet even as she leans into the comfort of his hold, a quiet thought creeps in. How long will this moment last? She tries to pull away, but he doesn't let her go. His grip is gentle yet unyielding. She wonders silently, does he really care about her that much? Her hand rises almost unconsciously to his face, her fingers brushing against his cheek. She tells him softly that she's truly all right. His eyes meet hers, beautiful eyes, the same ones that had gazed at her that night. Just like then, there's a tenderness in his expression that she can't quite explain. As she looks into his face, she realizes with trembling clarity, yes, this is the same person from that night. But before the moment can deepen, elsewhere, Emily wakes up suddenly, startled by a sound. Meanwhile, Shia, noticing the commotion, rushes toward her. Breathless, she asks where Emily is, and more urgently, where Kurt is. Emily, still dazed, holds her head and says that she thinks someone suddenly struck her from behind. Her eyes dart toward Alan, and panic flashes across her face. She shouts at him not to come near the young lady, her voice trembling with fear and anger. In that instant, she becomes convinced that it really was all a trap, a cruel scheme orchestrated by the Ward family. Her outrage rises as she cries out that he is only using Lady Grace's pure feelings for his own gain. But before her accusation can go any further, Shia interrupts sharply, insisting that no, he saved her. Turning to Emily, she pleads for her to believe her words. Emily, still shaken, hesitates, but finally nods and says of course she believes her. Alan, calm despite the tension, gestures toward the injured maid and mentions that the servant over there needs attention. Shia immediately apologizes for her maid's rudeness, but Alan continues his sentence evenly, saying that she should rest in the carriage. She was struck on the head, and rest is what she needs most. Shia's mind races. A servant had defied a noble under normal circumstances that would have warranted punishment without question. Yet Alan simply weighs it off, saying there would be no end if he punished every single act of defiance. It was only natural for the servant to be wary of him. Still, his tone grows heavier as he adds that he doesn't know how they obtained information about their meeting, but the assassin from earlier was sent by his own mother. The realization sinks in like a stone. This is the current state of the relationship between the Shelgrave and Ward families, poisoned by old hatred and unending mistrust. Then, his gaze softens slightly as he mentions that the child she carries might be their one chance at reconciliation. For the true happiness of their child, he says, they as parents must overcome these barriers, no matter how deep the rift runs. But even as his words settle in the air, Shia knows it won't be that simple. Yet he isn't entirely wrong. Compared to her past life, this world, especially among nobles, is cruel to single mothers. If she were to raise this child alone, her reputation would be destroyed, and the child might face a life of stigma and misfortune. She feels the weight of reality pressing against her heart. In that quiet but decisive moment, Alan speaks again. He proposes that they should get married. When she hears his words, Shia freezes. His tone is cold, detached, as if he were finalizing a business transaction. There's no hesitation, no warmth, only precision. She stares at him, stunned, and asks what he's plotting. He said they needed to overcome the barriers between their families, but now she wonders, does he mean to use her for that very purpose? Perhaps his true aim is to unite the two houses, reconcile the blood feud, and gain both recognition and power. Her voice trembles with anger as she asks if that's what this is all about. Alan's expression darkens. To be misunderstood like this seems to wound his pride. He answers that if she truly believes he wants real power, then he will hand it over. He even asks if she wants him to write a pledge to prove it. Shia can't believe what she's hearing. Why is he so out of touch, so blind to emotion? His words are meant to reassure her, yet they only widen the distance between them. Still, thanks to that cold, unfeeling logic of his, she finally understands something clearly. There's no love in him. The loneliness of not being loved, she has tasted it plenty in her past life. She will not walk that same path again. Talking with him has only solidified her feelings. No matter how strong the opposition may be, she will raise this child alone. She refuses to be bound by the Ward family or their politics any longer. She refuses this engagement. Her decision is final. The scene shifts. Somewhere else, in a quiet study, Alan's aide steps forward, placing documents on the table. He begins to speak in a measured tone, informing him about the recent geological survey, the faint sound of papers rustling filling the room as Alan silently stares ahead, lost in thought. High advises Gilbert not to make such a scary face, but Alan calmly replies that it is no different from usual. Gilbert, with his characteristic teasing tone, remarks that even the perfect Lord Alan finally seems to have troubles and wonders aloud why he doesn't simply confide in him, one of his few true friends. Alan then admits that he proposed. Gilbert, caught between disbelief and amusement, is stunned that Alan, of all people, has reached such a point. He exclaims inwardly that it is surprising Alan even found a good woman, but more than that, he never thought Alan had any desire to marry. Alan adds quietly that he failed. Gilbert is taken aback, realizing this explains why his friend has been acting strangely lately. His curiosity grows, and he asks himself which lady could have caused such turmoil in Alan's usually composed life. Alan remains silent, leading Gilbert to wonder if this could be his first failure in life. His mind drifts back to the masquerade party, the one where he himself had forcefully handed Alan an invitation. Alan had gone, intrigued by the novelty of anonymity. His path had always been predetermined since birth, and for once, he had wanted to see how people might perceive him if his title and status were hidden. Yet, in the end, it had been only his exterior that was desired. And then she appeared. That night changed everything. For the first time, he experienced a genuinely pleasant evening, something warm and real. He had shown a rare, unguarded expression, and for a fleeting moment, he believed she did not wish to let go. But each time since then, she has only distanced herself further. Alan recalls sharing with her his sincere intentions and the purpose of marriage, but he cannot understand what she found unsatisfactory. Gilbert, thinking through Alan's nature, realizes that perhaps his friend treated the proposal too rationally, too much like a duty or a piece of business. He sighs inwardly, acknowledging that most women are romantic by heart and that what truly matters to them is not logic but emotion, mood, and tenderness. As he muses over this, his thoughts drift lazily toward the subject of women in general, their mysteries, and their sentiments. Meanwhile, on the other side, Shia feels herself growing increasingly sleepy. Her stomach churns uneasily, and she realizes she should eat something, yet lately, even the thought of food makes her nauseous. The realization strikes her suddenly: it must be morning sickness. It is difficult and exhausting, both physically and emotionally. Emily, noticing her pale expression, asks if she is feeling unwell. Shia brushes it off, insisting that she is fine, though inwardly she knows she cannot possibly reveal her pregnancy. Emily, ever gentle and loyal, reassures her lady that she need not worry about appearances, saying that she is already beautiful enough as she is. Shia then notices the return of the master and madam from their official duties. Watching them, she cannot help but think back to the time when she herself had been in her mother's womb, wondering what kind of situation her parents had been in then, and what they must have felt upon discovering her existence. She remembers how her mother had once coldly declared that she would raise her child alone. That memory burns quietly within her, and Shia resolves firmly that she will not allow her own child to experience unhappiness as she once did. Strength surges through her for a moment, and she decides to go greet her parents. But as she rises, dizziness washes over her. Her vision wavers, and her movements falter. Her servants rush toward her in alarm, Emily among them, panic tightening her voice as she calls out to her lady. Shia sways, unable to steady herself. Emily explains anxiously to those around that Shia has not been eating properly and has been feeling unwell for quite some time now. The concern in her voice deepens as she tries to support her lady, afraid of what this sudden weakness might mean. Her father shouts urgently for someone to fetch a doctor, his voice trembling between fury and fear. Shia, pale and breathless, insists weakly that she is fine, but her words falter. The sweet, heavy scent of her mother's perfume only worsens her dizziness, and the world seems to spin around her. Seeing this, her mother hurries forward, alarmed, her expression tightening as realization begins to dawn. She bends down beside her daughter and asks, in a low, sharp tone, whether Shia is pregnant. Her mother's voice trembles with disbelief as she remarks that Shia has indeed been acting strange lately. Her sudden fatigue, the nausea, the fainting spells. Everything now makes perfect sense if it truly is pregnancy. In any case, she insists, a doctor's examination will confirm it beyond doubt. Cornered, Shia's lips tremble as she finally confesses. She tells them that there is someone she loves, and that the child she carries belongs to that love. Yet, in truth, the man is not even her lover. He is a man she does not love, someone she cannot speak of, but she has no choice but to say this, to protect what little dignity she can still hold on to. Her father stands frozen in stunned silence before his face twists with outrage. The words strike him like a blade. His daughter is pregnant. A trusted doctor is summoned, and when he confirms it, there is no longer any room for denial. Shia's father, trembling with anger, demands to know who the father is. She answers only that he is a nobleman. His fury rises further as he insists on knowing from which family this man belongs. His voice roars through the room, vowing that he will never forgive any man who dares to tarnish the proud name of Shelgrave. Shia cannot speak. Her heart pounds painfully as she thinks of the Ward family, the truth that she cannot reveal. If she utters that name, everything will crumble. So she remains silent, and in her silence, her father's anger finds its own cruel interpretation. He spits bitterly that it must be some worthless man whose name she cannot even bring herself to mention. With cold finality, he declares that he understands the situation. He orders his men to take Emily away, announcing that she will be assigned to different duties from now on. The loyal maid tries to resist, but the guards drag her out helplessly. Then, turning back to Shia, he delivers his judgment. His voice is icy, stripped of any warmth a father might have once held. He tells her that through her actions, she has brought unbearable shame upon the Shelgrave family. As punishment, she will receive nothing, not even basic comfort, and she is forbidden from leaving her room. The door closes behind him with a heavy thud. Shia rushes to it, banging her fists desperately against the wood, begging them to open it, to listen, but no one comes. The silence that follows is merciless. It becomes painfully clear they do not care what happens to her, or to the child inside her. 3 days pass. No food, no water. Her body weakens, but her spirit clings stubbornly to life. She presses a trembling hand to her belly and feels faint movement. The baby is still alive. Tears fill her eyes as she realizes that this child, unwanted by the world, is still fighting. She whispers that she will protect him, no matter what, even if she must do it alone. It's not as if she made this child by herself, but she knows she cannot depend on that man. Her tears fall silently, staining the cold floor beneath her. Suddenly, a noise breaks through the oppressive stillness. Loud voices, footsteps, the sound of the guards murmuring in confusion. Shia stiffens and moves toward the window, peering out through the narrow opening. The guards are gathered near the gate, their attention fixed beyond it. Someone outside is speaking firmly, someone saying he has come on business. Her breath catches. It's Alan. He stands there, tall and composed. He asks whether they will open the gate. Shia's father's voice echoes from within the courtyard, cold and filled with resentment. He declares that they have no business with a man like him, his gaze burning with hatred. Those hateful, savage eyes glare back at Alan, and he mutters that the young lord looks more and more like his father with each passing day. Alan remains unmoved. His voice, though calm, carries an unmistakable resolve as he announces that he wishes to speak with Lady Grace. Her father's jaw tightens. He demands to know what reason there could possibly be to allow such a man to see her. He declares that the child in Lady Grace's womb is his. The room falls silent, the statement echoing through the tense air. Shia's father is momentarily speechless, his expression a mixture of shock and disbelief. The scene shifts. Shia, pale and uncertain, is escorted into the grand study. The sudden lifting of her confinement feels too strange to be a coincidence. If she is not mistaken about what she glimpsed just moments ago, that man she saw standing in the courtyard, it was truly Alan. Her father states that from what he has observed, this certainly does not appear to be their first meeting. He has called her here to confirm the truth once and for all. His sharp eyes fix on his daughter as he demands to know whether this man is indeed the father of the child in her womb. Shia's heart pounds. She cannot believe that Alan has come this far, that he has told her father such a thing. The risk he has taken could destroy him completely. Is he really willing to put everything on the line for the sake of her and this child? The thought terrifies her. She cannot allow him to be used as a pawn in this war between families. She insists that he is not the father. But even as the words leave her lips, her body weakens. Her vision blurs, and her knees give way. Alan reacts swiftly, stepping forward to catch her before she falls. Her father's fury reignites. His shout reverberates through the room, accusing Alan of lying all along. Alan meets his glare with cold defiance, his jaw tight as he holds Shia protectively in his arms. When her father orders that she be locked in her room again, Alan's composure finally cracks. His hand tightens around hers, and he turns toward the Lord with unyielding resolve. He declares once more, this time louder and clearer, that he is indeed the father of the child and that he loves her. Shia's breath catches at his words. She stares at him in disbelief, her heart trembling. She asks him quietly if he truly understands what he is saying, if he realizes the weight and consequence of such a claim. Alan pulls her closer, his eyes unwavering as he assures her that he does. She cannot help but think how reckless this is. How dangerous it is for him to visit the Shelgrave estate, his rival family's stronghold, completely alone. Yet, looking into his eyes, she senses that this is not a political maneuver. There is no hidden motive, no scheme. He is truly thinking about her. She remembers how she had once resolved to raise the child alone, believing that to be her only path. But in that moment, she feels the fragility of her own loneliness. When Alan looks at her, there is a tenderness that breaks through her walls. Tears spill down her cheeks before she can stop them, and for the first time, she feels the weight of not being alone. Alan leans in gently and wipes away her tears. The sight only fuels her father's rage. He roars, calling Alan a bastard, demanding to know how he dares to sully the Shelgrave name. At the same time, Shia's mother rushes toward her daughter, her voice high and trembling, calling her a disgrace to the family. Shia feels her chest tighten. At this rate, Alan will be punished, perhaps even killed. She cannot let that happen. Instinct takes over. She grabs his hand and whispers urgently for him to come with her. Together, they run through the corridor, her skirts sweeping the floor, Alan glancing around in alarm. He calls out for her to stop, telling her she shouldn't be running like this in her condition. But she shakes her head, breathless and desperate. If something were to happen to him, she knows her father would punish not just him but her as well. She cannot predict what her father might do, and fear drives her faster. Alan's voice softens as he catches up beside her. He tells her that now that her parents know the truth, she cannot run away from him anymore. Her face flushes deeply at his words. What a strange thing to say at a moment like this. He explains gently that it is natural, she simply does not know him well enough yet. She stammers in confusion, torn between disbelief and the undeniable warmth spreading through her chest. How can he speak of love so easily, so surely, when everything around them is falling apart? Alan only smiles faintly and replies that this is exactly why they should take this chance to truly get to know one another. His voice grows steadier as he continues, saying that they should face their family's conflicts together, not apart. He wants to start over, to relive their date that they couldn't properly enjoy last time. She agrees, and a week later, the two of them are out together once more. The place is beautiful, surrounded by gentle scenery and quiet calm. Alan, ever considerate, worries that the carriage ride might have been too hard on her, but she manages fine, though still feeling a little nauseous. Last week's confession had thrown her entire family into chaos. This date was only permitted because, in the end, they concluded that if they forbade it, who knew what he might do next? Even so, the permission came with a condition: they were to have a chaperone, someone to intervene if he acted strangely. It was not as though marriage between them was allowed, but despite that, he had come. He stood before her dressed in the same clothes he had worn that day, making her wonder if he truly intended to redo their first date, just as it had been. Seeing her quiet expression, he asks after her condition, and she replies softly that she feels better now. She notices how attentive he is, how every small gesture shows that he is being considerate of her comfort. Around them, the flowers bloom in full color, the kind that seem to grow everywhere. She recognizes them immediately. Those blossoms have always been her favorite. She wonders aloud if they grow even in Ward territory, and he admits he does not know. She tells him that she has always liked these flowers. Gently, she begins to weave them together, crafting a delicate crown. When she finishes, he takes the crown from her hands and places it carefully upon her head, checking to see if he has done it correctly. She smiles and nods, touched by the small gesture, and once again, she feels herself being swept off her feet by him. He notices her falling into deep thought, and his gaze softens. She can't help but think that if only she weren't from the Shelgrave family, and if only he weren't from the Ward family, things might have been different. These thoughts linger like a quiet ache within her. Alan's expression turns resolute. He seems to imply that he intends to do something about their situation. For a brief moment, she feels that she might actually want to reach out and touch him, that small, reckless wish that she dares not voice. Later, she gazes at him, and he takes her hand gently, making her smile once again. To her surprise, he has even prepared a meal for her. She looks around, curious, and realizes the place feels private and refined. She wonders if this mansion belongs to the Ward family too, but he explains that the owner is simply an acquaintance who lent him the space. The thought moves her deeply. He went out of his way, arranging all of this just for their date. Every dish laid out before her seems thoughtfully chosen, carefully prepared for someone in her condition. Each one looks delicious, though her nausea has not completely faded yet. Even so, the aroma tempts her. Alan watches her quietly as she takes the first bite, and she feels reassured. She thinks she might actually be able to eat today. Yet, from the way he looks at her, it's clear he notices her hesitation. She realizes, with a touch of embarrassment, that her discomfort must have been quite obvious. Around them, the sound of children's laughter drifts through the air. The atmosphere is peaceful, almost dreamlike. A soft breeze passes, stirring the leaves and brushing gently against her face. When Alan steps away for a moment, she remains seated, lost in thought. He had gone through so much trouble to make this day perfect, and now she feels as though she has ruined the mood by being too withdrawn. As the air grows colder, he returns, draping a blanket over her shoulders. The concern in his movements is unmistakable. He remarks that the chill in the air must have gotten to her, and she agrees quietly. A moment later, he even brings her a foot warmer, checking that the charcoal inside is at just the right temperature. Then he returns with reheated soup, making sure it is neither too hot nor too cold. His every action reflects a quiet, tender worry for her well-being. She takes a spoonful of the soup. It's warm, comforting, and genuinely delicious. Watching her eat, Alan's expression softens, but his tone grows serious as he finally asks if anything has happened since that day. And in that small, gentle moment, surrounded by warmth, the scent of flowers, and the echo of laughter, the air between them trembles with everything unspoken. Because suddenly discovering that one's daughter is pregnant and realizing that the father is a member of the Ward family, it was only natural for her father to be angry. She can't really blame him. Still, her cheeks flush with warmth when she realizes that Alan has been worried about her family this entire time. Despite everything, despite the cold distance between their houses, he still thinks of them. She reflects quietly that he hardly even speaks to her now, but at least she's been allowed to live in relative peace, a small mercy she can cling to. He looks at her with concern, sensing something unsettled in her expression, as if asking if something is wrong. She wonders whether he's referring to the soup or something deeper. Then his gaze drops briefly to her stomach, and for a moment, the air between them changes. He's acknowledging the life that exists there, their child. Between the Shelgrave family and the Ward family, that small existence feels like a fragile bridge, something neither side will ever accept. She silently tells herself not to get her hopes up, because to him, the child might just be